Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rates and Lanes podcast. Unfortunately, we are pre-recording once again. We didn't have an opportunity. Had plans to go live, but as they say, when you make plans, God laughs. So that's how it ended up working out for us today. But if you guys and girls would do us a huge, huge favor, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the show. It helps us out tremendously. It doesn't cost you a dime. We won't spam your inbox or none of that stuff. We just need your help and support. We're trying to get this videos out to a larger platform, a larger base of people, get into the algorithm, so to speak. So if you would do us that huge favor, we would greatly appreciate it. I'm your host, Rico Muhammad. That fella right there that's got the same haircut as me, that's Mr. Chuck Snow, my partner in crime. And this is the Rates and Lanes podcast. And like I said at the top of the show, if you find anything entertaining, informative at all, please tell a friend to tell a friend about the show. It helps us out tremendously. And with that being said, good afternoon, Chuck. How are you?
We're doing great, Rico. I was down in Macungie, Pennsylvania. There was a truck show there that was phenomenal. I drove down 400 miles to attend. I was there for Friday and Saturday. Saw an awful lot of our listeners. Visited with them. Talked to a lot of people. Saw a lot of 1,100 trucks at this show.
Wow.
It was really, really quite a show, and got to have dinner with a couple of our listeners too, which was a
Good
lot.
deal.
And spent time with people, finding out what's going on in the industry. It seems to be a hell of a lot better down in the U.S. than it is in Canada. Canada's still struggling,
Is
but
that right?
talking to our U.S. friends, it's rocking down there.
So Canada didn't necessarily benefit from the I don't know. I guess the immigration policies and things are a little bit different in Canada than they are here in the
Yeah,
U.S.
very much so. Now, what happened was some of the people who may have been questionable in the U.S. did stop going down. We have had some of that, which has made a little bit of a difference. But for the most part, no, because we lost our manufacturing base basically over the last 40 years. We've lost an awful lot of it. Um, it's just so expensive to operate up here, whether it's a trucking company or whether it's a manufacturing plant. Even though our dollar is over 30% weaker than yours, it's still more cost effective for manufacturers to manufacture in the US than it is in Canada.
Mm.
You know,
Okay.
my American friends all think that you guys are mired in red tape. You don't even know what red tape is till you come up here.
Say, be careful of what you wish for.
You got it.
Well, I want to get into. We're going to start out this week as we always do. We're going to talk a little bit about fuel, and as we can see, the average, what's been going on in the fuel market has been absolutely a godsend for most people because we're starting to see the fuel prices starting to trend in the right direction, which helps out when it comes to your margins. And so we're average weekly, the average US highway diesel cost is at $5.06 per gallon on average. That's a 15 cents week over week change. It's down by 15 cents from the previous week. And about 46 cents overall for over the past month. And that is true. Like I say, it's trending in the right direction. We normally on the way up, we seen the chart going this way, and now it's starting to go this way. So
It's really nice to see. And even up here, our fuel is still expensive, but it's certainly going the right way. It is coming down.
right, right. So fuel costs have earned 3 straight weeks, offering carriers modest margins after the spring run up. And so we got to keep in mind, as always, lower diesel supports margin recovery, but fuel is still elevated enough to keep surcharges and make sure that you keep your strategy when it comes to booking your loads and which lanes that you're going to operate in.
Yeah, it's really important because, and you have your fuel costs, and then you have different state fuel, fuel taxes and
Fuel
road
taxes.
taxes and tolls. You also got really need to know about.
Speaking of which, June's getting ready to wrap up. 2290s are due. Heavy highway usage tax. It's that time of year.
Yeah,
And so jumping on over, we're going to move and jump into the drive-in segment of our report for this week. And we're trying to switch up our graphics for you. Hopefully you like, ladies and gentlemen, are appreciating the new graphics. We're trying to make sure that we try to give you guys something different, something fresh. And so we went out and we combined a bunch of different metrics to kind of come up with these graphics. So hopefully, like I say, you guys definitely find this useful. So we got the average drive-in line haul rate is at $2.38 per mile. Now, keep in mind, these rates are without fuel surcharge tacked onto it.
right.
So make sure that you are adjusting those. The rates are just trying to derive what it takes to move the load on a line haul basis without any fuel surcharge attached. Um, Top 50 monitored lanes, we're showing an average of $2.87 per mile on average for drive-ins. The core Midwest average is at $2.72 per mile. That's down 4 cents from the previous week. And the average load to truck ratio nationwide for drive-ins is at 9.6.
Wow.
Load. So anything you want to add on that, truck?
No, I think things are, other than the rate going down a little bit, things are trending in a good direction. This is very healthy. Uh, I wouldn't bet the farm on anything yet. Just we all need to be cautious. Don't go spend a bunch of money on a new truck or buying a bunch of chrome or anything. Um, just put the money away if you're making money, because I people have short memories.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as old Craig Fuller likes to say on his show, sometimes balance sheets have memories.
Yeah, they certainly do. And the other thing, Rico, that we should mention, these are good rates. Okay, they're certainly in the right direction. But when any of us, and this is something I got to talk to some of our listeners about this weekend, when they're going out now to replace their equipment, a truck they may have paid $150,000 for 5 years ago, they're now going to be looking at over 200.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing is that the cost of equipment and everything is steadily on the increase. So even though we're starting to see good rates, the rates and everything started to turn right around November, October was the earliest I really started to see it on an anecdotal level. And so we're starting to see that trend is going in the right direction for uh, hopefully for the foreseeable future. However, we still have to keep in mind it's not about how much you make; it's about how much you can keep.
That's
At the
right.
end of the day, that's really the bee's knees when it comes to staying in business and being profitable. So you still have to watch every little dime, every little penny like a hawk. You got to stay on top of making sure that you're trying to keep as much money as you possibly can when it comes to your maintenance costs and all of that stuff. So you have to still run a tight ship. It's not saying we're not by any means showing that the rates are improving and they're going in the right direction, but the streets are far from being paved with gold.
Right, because we're going to have to replace all this equipment with very expensive equipment. You're going to need this money. Right now, it's a little bit of we finally have some wind at our back.
Yes, yes, indeed. And we're going to jump over to the flatbed industries and import demand. We got a little bit. We got a, and I'm going to send these graphics out on via our Instagram stories and everything. I'm going to shoot all of these out here a little bit later because we got some different information in here that's a little bit. We got a combination of information from DAT and a few other different resources that we were able to pull information from. So the national flatbed line haul rate is holding strong at $2.94 per mile on average. Texas outbound flatbed rates are at a whopping $3.40 per mile on average. So the load to truck ratio for flatbeds is holding strong at 55.68 loads per truck, and that's up over 40% year over year. And so there is a tremendous opportunity to be had coming out of Texas because there is a lot of stuff going on as far as from the ports, the ships, and also very high industrial demands
Right.
coming out of Texas. That's why we kind of highlighted that. And as the carrier takeaway here, we have run hard. Industry and import linked freight is strongest in Texas, remains the standout market while the window is open. So you got to make sure that you're taking advantage of these while the window presents itself, because these windows are forever shifting and changing and closing. So you don't want to make sure you don't get caught with your pants around your ankles, so to speak.
Yeah, nothing lasts forever in our business, and things change. Where right now, and it has happened in the past, where the Texas ports were very busy with machinery. They do seem to be ports that handle an awful lot of machinery, but that can change.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
all of a
and I
sudden,
think we
yeah,
we
end up
still we're still benefiting tremendously from um, a lot of the data centers being built and everything as well. So
yeah. And there seems to be an awful lot of pushback against data centers being built. So, who knows what's going to happen in the midterms, because that could affect it.
yeah, there is a lot. I don't know enough about it to speak about it intelligently, but there is definitely a growing grassroots movement to push back on some of these data centers. There's a lot of stuff that is being talked about that I'm not sure that the public knows about, where the data centers are being built. There's a lot of pushback as far as water usage and how much
Yes.
it's costing and all type of different tax benefits. And you're hearing a bunch of different things. I'm not sure exactly where the truth is and where
Well, it's
you
always,
got you got pushback on both ends, and so you definitely have to. I don't, like I said, I don't know enough about it to really speak to it with any authority.
no, and people seem to be very passionate about it on both sides. So,
Absolutely,
somewhere in the middle, the truth is lying in between the two sides, somewhere buried.
absolutely. And this week we did a little different little vibe with the reefer report. Let's see if we can get it to pop up here. There we go. So, national average rate for reefers is coming out strong at an average of $2.68 per mile on average. Produce hub averages are sitting closer to $3.98 per mile on average. Reefer load to truck ratio nationally is sitting around 18.63 loads per truck on average. And so you got little pockets, and we tried to highlight across the map on where there are hotbeds. And if you are a person that is just wanting to run from spot market to spot market and stay in the hot spot market, I tried to make sure that we got some information out there to highlight that for you to know, to give you some information and give you some insights on potential places on your hit list, potential places where you to target for the upcoming week. Um, Chuck, you guys ran a combination of different things over at Traffics. When it comes to the fickleness of when produce season kicks in, what are some advice that you would give to our listeners about dealing with that?
Well, most important, for God's sakes, make sure your equipment is in tip top shape. That is number one. There's nothing worse than having a reefer breakdown and having a load of blueberries cook.
That can get expensive quick.
It does. It does. One load can easily put you out of business. Easily. I've seen it so many times. So that, we people have reefer breakdown insurance, and you pay for it. But if you've been neglectful, how that usually works, if they're going to pay a claim, they want to see you have documented all your maintenance on your reefer trailer, and
Right.
make sure you have it. And really, a lot of times, to protect yourself, make sure it's done by a professional. That is my number
Abs-
one. Whether it's your reefer itself, or your rubber that's on your wheels, doesn't matter. All of it's got to be tip top, or do not load reefer freight, because it can bite you in the backside like nothing else.
yeah, and speaking of which, I've settled the little issue that I had a few weeks back when I was dealing with the claim
Yes.
with one of the brokers. I ended up doing a compromise, Chuck, because I didn't want to spend $1,000 or more on an attorney to go dig into it a lot further. So
I know.
they ended up trying to charge me almost $700 for a claim of it was Tyson product. It was hot dogs,
Poultry.
all kind of all different kind of stuff, mixture of different things.
Right.
The situation was that I was there. I requested, first of all, I got to the delivery location. They gave me the wrong appointment time. Appointment time was supposed to have been on the rate confirmation. It was 1300. I, in the truth of transparency, I got there a little bit after 1300, but the facility was closed. It was a night receiver. The facility didn't open until 9 o'clock in the evening anyway. So I don't know how these these are the different nuances that you can get into. I don't know how they had an appointment time for that time of day when the receiver was never even open. Um, and I asked them, trying to say, well, I tried to make sure, well, was anyone here at this time? Because like I said, I did get there a little bit after the time, but that was due, I was on a multi-drop load. So the
Right.
previous delivery that I was at held me up so long. That's what caused me to be late to the final. And so that's another thing, learn from my experience, that I would like to share as well. I'm not afraid to do multi-drop loads, but make sure I didn't stick close to my guns close enough. And as they say, if you have a policy in place, always stick by your policy. Don't break your policy for nothing. And I didn't have a policy in place for a detention at each stop. I allowed them to, on their rate confirmation, it said the detention would only be paid at the first pickup and at the last delivery.
Nope. You've got to have that. You should allow really about an hour. You can't, on a multi stop, you can't allow more than 60 minutes.
Yeah, and so I dropped the ball, and I tell you what, on these, and this is the good thing about the load to truck ratios and having negotiating power in our favor as carriers right now. The good thing about that is, and man, you might have heard my phone ringing in the background. Let me put it on mute because I had my truck posted for tomorrow in Atlanta, and it's already blowing up.
That shows you how good it is.
It's
It's
a
like the
good
good old days.
Atlanta's a great market right now. Um,
It's about
but
time.
I was saying that to say, where I messed up at, I didn't have that in on I didn't negotiate that in.
Oh, our sound just went. Hang on. Rico, we lost your sound, buddy. Bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I heard something. Hang on, Senator. Oh, there he is. I see him.
There I go. I apologize.
No problem.
I had to refresh there. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't negotiate those things into the contract, and
Right.
so that was bad on me. That was my lapse in judgment, and because I thought I was getting a really good rate on a per stop basis, and thought it wasn't going to be that big of a deal. And multi stop loads, if something can go wrong, it will go wrong.
100%. And Rico, you are a seasoned professional. You've been doing this for a long, long time, and you made a mistake. So this is just a great this is a great thing to put forward to for our listeners. Have have your standards of what you do. Have your playbook, and
Right. And
send it, and make sure your broker or your customer understands. Listen, I will do multi stops, but I can only spend an hour at each location. Anything more than that, I need to be compensated, because that could go into, I could end up with an extra day or two given uh, enough deliveries.
absolutely, absolutely. And this was definitely a four stopper. So what happened was at the very last stop, um, that was a night shift receiver. There was overage on that shipment. They wanted me to go donate the shipment, and I had no problem with going to go donate it. But when I went and researched a donation facility, it was closed. This was happened on a Friday, and that donation facility was closed on Friday and wasn't going to reopen until Monday. I'm in Florida. I don't live in Florida. I'm not sitting, and furthermore, I'm not babysitting this product to keep it at temperature
Right.
from Friday all the way till Monday when this donation facility reopened.
Yeah.
So we got cross wired on both ends, and so they didn't. I asked them for instructions. They didn't. The only instruction they told me was find a donation facility. Well, I tried to find a donation facility. Didn't nobody tell me anything else. Didn't nobody offer any compensation for anything else. So long story short, we ended up. They tried to do a offset by $700 to cover the product that I ended up dumping. Um, so we came to a compromise after some back and forth for quite some time. We came to a compromise, um, and we actually ended up not. They tried to send me a release for the freight, I said this before in previous episodes, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that you have a embrace the AI technology, because there are so many things that it's almost like having an attorney in your back pocket,
Yeah.
because you can upload documents and have it read it for you. And the release that they sent over to me, it was kind of course, it's always going to be one sided.
Of course.
I uploaded into my AI, and it got to telling me all the different things that demonstrating all of the one-sided things that they were trying to have me agree to, and I could have potentially been paying for the offset of that freight twice if I was not careful, if I would have signed that release. And the release had incorrect information in it. It had that instead of it saying that there was overage or disposal for the overages, they saying that the product was damaged. And from what it was telling me, from what my AI was telling me, that could potentially lead to, it could open the door. If I signed that release like that, it could also lead to an insurance claim. So we wanted to make sure that we were covering our, CYA.
Rico, we have to be, got to remember something. When we're signing these
Hmm.
contracts were written by lawyers,
Yep, absolutely.
and
And
they
we don't have,
some
and
were
we
written
in
by
small
really good.
carriers,
Yeah,
we don't have a legal apparatus to kind of make sure that we run that through uh, on demand like that.
now, there are an awful lot of great brokers out there, big and small, that want to work with their carriers. But there are some shysters out there that have crooked lawyers and write these slanted contracts. And If something happens, you're going to be in a mess. And you've got those are the ones you have to watch out for.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, like I said, we ended up. I could have played it out, maybe filed on their bond and tried to go after more, go after a bunch of other stuff. But like I said, at the end of the day, it probably may would have just cost me a little bit more money than what I was already willing to invest because I've already ran the load. There were lumper fees, of course, when you're doing refrigerator. There were lumper fees associated with each and every last one of those drops.
Of
And so
course.
we were going into about 45 days of me running the load, already having money out extended from the lumper fee that normally I pay and just invoice at the end of the deliveries. So I was out somewhere in the ballpark of about $4,500,
Whoa, that's a lot of money.
include including lumper fees and everything. And so and no telling if I would have had to press the issue a little bit further, I would have been investing a little bit more money to try to get it resolved. So at the end of the day, we ended up settling on splitting the $700. It was $350 that we ended up. So I figured that was a decent compromise to just kind of have it be done with and put it to bed.
Well, and you know what? It was a whole lot cheaper than getting involved in a lawsuit and everything else. Um, I would hope that you didn't deal with that broker again, or you wouldn't.
Yeah, I think we definitely don't see eye to eye. And
Well, just the fact that they give.
if we ever do business again, uh, it's definitely going to make sure that I got all type of things in there to make sure I'm covering myself. To
But you know what? The fact that they gave you such bad information tells
right.
me that tells me they're not a good broker because a good broker gives good information. That's what they do. They they convey information. It's like a game of broken telephone tag.
Well,
And
you find that you unfortunately, Chuck, you find that out a lot with the larger brokerage houses. The smaller, that's the one good thing about the smaller brokerages. You can have some build some relationships and have some rapport, and you can kind of get some a little bit more stuff done. When you're dealing with these larger brokerages that are really going away from relationship building. They just throwing a whole bunch of stuff because they have access to the big shippers, and it's not. It, you don't have it. There's no night shift. If there is night shift, they are totally clueless and useless. So it's not a very good it's not a very good experience.
yeah, you know, there's certainly an awful lot of technology thrown behind it. Unfortunately, there's an awful lot of offshore labor thrown behind it in some cases. You're right about that, and I've heard other complaints. Um, and this is why it's best deal with, narrow it down. You know, Rico, you and I have
Right.
talked about this 100 times. Narrow it down to when you showed the map of where the produce was hot, and you know you advise people that are running for want to run for those lanes, and they want to pick up those hot loads on the west. Yeah, you can do it and make a lot of money, but man, oh man, you're really playing Russian roulette.
Some people have a tolerance for it. I know some people that's their whole thing. When the market's hot, they want to run from hot market to hot market. And like you say, you can definitely, if you get it down, if you got relationships in those areas, you can definitely make a lot of money in a short time frame. But like I say, you're definitely playing Russian roulette because if you're any little slip up, and you're gonna pay for it.
Well, you know what, and that's been my experience when you go into those uncharted waters. You can make a lot of money, but man, you can lose a lot too. So is it really worth the risk? It depends on and that's a personal thing. What's your personal appetite for risk? Personally, I don't like losing money. I never did.
I don't think many people do. I think everybody kind of share along with that one, Chuck.
Well, obviously they don't mind it because they play those, they play those markets. And even even going back, like you load up in Washington and you're heading to the market in New York or something, and something happens in an area where you may travel 2 or 3 times a year. What do you do then when something happens to your equipment? And
Right.
you can't get, you've got this hot load, and you can't get into Freightliners all booked up. You can't get into the dealer. You can't rent a truck. What the hell do you do?
It gets a little fickle real quick.
Exactly. I've seen it all, and hopefully you have a good broker that'll work with you and help you, repower that load somehow.
So we're gonna present this one last little graphic to you guys this week. We're calling this the weekly carrier playbook. Was kind of a wrap up of everything that we've already talked about. And of course, like I said, we are utilizing a few different sources. So if you look at the bottom of each graphic, it has the source for where the information was pulled from. But starting out with dry vans, we're recommending that everyone hold the line on strong lanes. Watch Midwest softness and avoid assuming every lane is hot, because it's definitely not. So make sure that you're doing your analysis before you go in. Make sure that you're looking at the heat maps on DAT or whatever to make sure that that market is actually a hot market and it's not going to change on you overnight. So that's on the dry van side. On flatbeds, we're recommending that you prioritize Texas and import and industry freight while the premium window remains open. You got a window of opportunity right here, right now on flatbeds. Make sure that you're taking full advantage of it. And for reefers, exit Florida thoughtfully, build options. If you're one of those persons that we talked about that likes to run from hot market to hot market, well, Yakima Valley is one of the hottest markets that's going on right now. California, easier coverage reset in those particular markets. If you're one of those ones that like to jump around and run from hot market to hot market, there you go. For as far as fuel is concerned, diesel eased for a third straight week. Use the relief to protect your margins and not to cut your rates too quickly, because they didn't. They fought you all the way up, so you got to fight all the way back down.
Yeah, it's true. It's
And
true.
and and,
So,
I'm not putting that on brokers, but you got to fight. The reason I say that is, yes, fuel is coming down a lot over the past few weeks. However, fuel stations and truck stops are quick to raise. They were very quick to raise those prices, and they are very slow on lowering them. There is some relief that has come, but it could be a lot better, I think.
and I want everybody to remember, fuel is certainly one of our big costs. It's not all of them.
Right.
Maintenance, parts and maintenance have gone way the hell up.
Exactly. Exactly. And
You know,
so, kind
I
of,
buy parts. I do buy parts all the time. Filters and all sorts of stuff.
oh yeah,
And
filters will you will be. I know you got older trucks, Chuck. So I don't know if the filter prices for the older trucks are as bad as they are on some of these newer trucks.
oh
But
yeah,
man, you
not
can you
only are
can
they
spend.
bad, they're you have to wait sometimes for a day or two or three to get them.
I can.
And I found out last week. I came home and I needed a fuel filter for one truck, and my wife looked on Amazon for me, and they were more expensive than Freightliner.
Wow. You got to be careful about Amazon too, Chuck. I'll tell you that you have to be careful about Amazon because unfortunately you can get a hold of some knockoffs on Amazon,
Yeah, definitely. But
and nothing worse than think that you're doing the right thing by doing preventive maintenance on your truck, and you got a knockoff filter that doesn't filter or and could grenade or mess up your equipment more than what you
yeah,
think you're doing preventive maintenance, and you're actually setting a grenade down off in it.
exactly. And all of a sudden you take it into a dealer because you believe it's under warranty, and the dealer says, "Where'd you get this filter from?" There's no warranty on this truck. You blew the engine up.
Right. So you have to be careful about that.
Yeah,
Um, the watch list we have here when it comes to reefers, Yakima cherry season is in full effect. Florida produce season is coming to a close. When it comes to flatbed, Texas is strong. Dallas produce lane is firm and ongoing fuel relief. So the bottom line, this is still a carrier supported market, but the money is increasing in the right regions and at the right timing.
yeah,
Win the week by being selective, choose tightening markets, stay disciplined on price, and reposition before the crowd. And so, one of the things that we designed that we tried to do with this podcast is we try to give you guys enough information to put in your tool belt so that you can be ahead of the crowd when it comes to this thing, because sometimes the information that you avail yourself to will make the difference night and day in on how your profitability is.
for sure. Knowledge is key. The more information you have, the better you can do at running your business. And this is, Rico, we always used to say, and I'm going to say it again because we haven't said it in a long time, when you're in trucking, you're basically an accountant.
Yep.
It's all about, there's not a lot of businesses that are so numer-centric. And sometimes people think they're making money on a particular lane, and then at the end of the month, they're not making any money. And it turns out that their dead miles were a lot greater than what they accounted for, or that something snuck up like a fuel tax that they didn't realize they had to pay in that particular state, or a road tax.
Yep. Like I said, yeah.
I've heard of ones where all of a sudden somebody was running a commodity out of the state and they found out they weren't insured for that one. All sorts of stuff.
Yeah, and the other thing is, stick to as the old TLC song goes, stick to the lakes and rivers that you're used to. Don't go chasing waterfalls. The thing about that, and what I mean by that is, we talked about it time and time again as well. Stay in your area.
I agree.
Run your area of operation. Try your best to stay within your area of operation. And if you wanted, like I said, if you wanted the cowboys that like to go from spot market to spot market, I salute you. More power to you. And we try to give you information so that you can stay on top of that. But if you can, there's money to be made by just servicing a small area. If you don't have the fleet to really support, or if that's not really your business model to run all over the place, because you can't be all things to all people, but you can service a particular market and service the hell out of it, and position yourself to be the go-to person in that area.
That's the key to success, but people don't want to listen to it. Be the go-to person for an area.
Yeah, and the other thing that going back to being accountant and what you was talking about, Chuck. Too many people, even some of our listeners, we have to make sure that we understand and we know intimately our cost per mile. That at the end of the day, that is what is going to make a huge difference on whether or not you are able to survive this thing. And knowing, just because you got money coming in, but you got to know where that money is going. You
How
got to
much
know
you going to keep?
exactly. You got to know exactly where that money is going. And money is, as Chuck says with trucks, money is stupid too. It'll do whatever you tell it to do. But if you don't tell it to do something, it's going to find some kind of way to leave. And if you're not directed it in the direction that you need it to go in, then it's going to leave you, and you're going to be high and dry without it.
Yeah, you have to watch. You have to watch every nickel. You have to watch your expenses. And anybody I know that made money in running trucks always knew their costs and watched their expenses.
Absolutely.
I have
So with
I have a friend of mine who has made a lot of money through the years on real estate. He owns several very small apartment buildings. And when I look where he made his money, he bought at the right time. That was number one. So his assets have certainly appreciated. But number two, he did everything he could to save a nickel. And when you have a dozen buildings, saving pennies and saving nickels adds up.
Absolutely.
And it's the same as running trucks. There's not a lot of difference. I'm not telling you to use inferior parts or anything like that. And I am saying to maintain your trucks because that's part of, you can't get away without maintenance. You just have to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Chuck, I'm looking at the time. Anything you want to say before we get out of here? Want to put a bow on it?
Well, you know what? It was great seeing everybody in Makunji, and I just a little housekeeping before we leave. Rico and I will not be broadcasting next week because of the July 4th holiday and July 1st holiday. We're taking the week off, and I will be down in Texas with Next Gen Trucking. I am going to be volunteering with Lindsay Trent and her husband, Sean, and we are at a student supply chain contest. I'm looking forward to that, and introducing people to the trucking and supply chain industries. So that's where I'll be next Tuesday. So Rico, with that, I'll let you back her in a hole for another week.
All right. Well, good deal. Like we said at the top of the show, if you guys found any of this information entertaining, informative, please tell a friend to tell a friend about the show. Please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe across all platforms. If you hit the little bell icon, that'll notify you once we post new videos or any kind of new post that we do. If you hit that bell icon, you'll be the first to get notified. And as all we always say, stay safe out there, everybody. Stay healthy, stay profitable. Keep it in between the mustard and the mayonnaise. We'll talk at your same time, same place next week. God bless you and good night.